Hello, Active Sage here on the Sage channel, and I just thought really quickly I'd go over a few projects that I'm currently working on. That way you guys know I'm not abandoning the channel, I'm not just disappearing, and it's not going to be all Warframe or Star Citizen nonsense. I am still in Space Engineers. I am still working on some very large things, very large things, and as you know, I usually put on interiors to all these ships and name the lights, name the doors, or at least most of the larger doors and stuff like that. So it's taking quite some time to get things like this done. So I just thought I'd give you guys a quick show of a few things that I'm currently working on. This thing right here is currently nicknamed the High Halls, and it's about, I'd say 50% or less finished right now. It's got a lot of interior hallways, not many lights right now. It's got stairwells, and I'm not going to show you many of them because I still want you to watch the actual video when it's finally finished, but just so you know, this is sort of the overview of it right now as it is currently, and it's taking an age to get done. It's pretty cool, pretty happy with it, and yeah, that's one thing. Now, a few other things I'm working on. I'm really going to quickly switch over to another something. So here's another thing. What is this? It's a suit, right? You've seen this suit before. Well, a week or two ago, the suit's broke, so this is just another reason why there was a while there where I didn't put out a content. It's also because I was retweaking suits to get them to work again after they changed a few things, and also experimenting around with suit colors. Like I can now change the thruster colors, so I might be tweaking those a bit in the future. And also I'm going to be putting together a tutorial hopefully by the end of this coming week, the first week of September, to actually show you how to make your own custom suits, and I'll give you templates and stuff like that. Hopefully even through the Steam Workshop I'll be able to give you templates, and they should be pretty straightforward. Next thing is this thing here. Now, this is a large ship that I'm currently inside, but if I hop into the cockpit, it's a super simple ship, and it's actually one of the ugliest ships I've ever built. I'm not actually very happy with it. The gun, on the other hand, is beautiful, and I didn't build it. That gun right there is built by Aaron, Last Stand Gamer. He is very good at building weapons, and that is a absolutely gorgeous turret. Now, the reason this exists is because we were going to have a turret battle, but as we very quickly found out, these control schemes are not exactly ideal, as I've now just driven it into there because I've forgotten the buttons. Yeah. The ship itself here wasn't the best either. As I said, I wasn't too happy with the looks of it. The idea was you could aim forward and fire very easily through that port while the turret was still protected from being blasted by the enemy turret, and then out the sides you could do bombardments with ease. Unfortunately, I'm rubbish at that. A lot of stuff went wrong, and when we tried to get other people in to actually pilot the turrets by actually hopping in the cockpit in them, we found out there were some control scheme issues that, well, prevented us really from ever succeeding in this. So yeah, this didn't end up going anywhere, and unlike most of my ships, the interior of this ship is, well, it's just a husk. If I was to look inside it, you can see it's just nonsense in here, and there's not really any hallways at all. There's a door that leads out to there, and if I was to pop open this door, it's just a doorway that leads all the way out the arse end of the ship. So it wasn't exactly the most impressive thing ever, and as the turrets didn't let us have a nice battle, this video, well, it never even got finished, because a quarter way through we just decided, screw it. And also I got bit by ants that day and my foot swole up. It was bad. Next thing would be this here. This one is, I named it the Maw, and the idea is it would have this big mouth, be closed, and it would open it up, and all these turrets would be stuck to the inside of it. And you see I don't really have any of them set up. I sort of have it bulked up, but originally I was trying to figure out how to get piping to go in between them all, and this is why this never got finished, and hopefully will, but it's far on the back burner now, because of course it would require a lot of pipes to be joining up when it's closed, and then firing when it's open. Let's see, do I have a group of rotors? I do. Let's go ahead and tell all these to reverse. And the idea is that these would all close, and currently they don't actually seem to be working, so it looks like this might even be worse off than I remember. Braking forward turns. Oh, good. So none of them actually had their speeds properly set either. So yeah, you can see this was abandoned in quite a second. You can see I have all the naming conventions for left and right sides, and then of course I copy and pasted and merged all these bits. Let's go ahead and just turn the velocity up a bit here, and there you go. You can see the idea was it would move in and close, but for some reason the left side, as you can see, it's working perfectly. The right side, no dice. Yeah, because they're supposed to be opposites of each other. And the locking distances weren't exactly set up correctly. And you see these are spinning way too far. Okay. Yeah, you can see it. The idea was they close down, sort of make this like diamond shape almost. And then when it was ready to attack, they'd open up and begin firing. And it would be really cool because you could bombard a target below it with ease. But, yeah, it never really came to fruition. Still kind of beautiful. But as you can see, the rotors, they sort of bounce back and forth once they get to that initial point that I wanted them at. And so that's why this was more or less abandoned, unfortunately, but I figured even if I never finish it, it should get some light of day. So there you go, you can see sort of the idea of how each side would look like that. Pretty cool. And yeah, as you can see, not practical. I did turn that speed up far higher than I probably should have, but either way, not very practical, and I don't know, I didn't leave much room in the middle for any ship systems and stuff, so that's why this got abandoned. Let's move on to something else I've been working on that hasn't been abandoned. So this here, this laggy mess is the maw. The idea is it has big teeth in there that come down and clamp down. Warning, render server overload has showed up in the top left corner there, so as you can see, my plan is to finish this, but I'm showing it now because I'm not sure my system can handle it. And I have a very powerful system, and it's being overloaded like crazy, so if you never see this thing in action, that's why. And I'm getting 5 frames per second while not even moving, so yeah, if I move, you can see that's how bad the frame rate is. So if you ever do see this, it'll be a highly edited version with the frame rate sped up to actually see it in action, chewing up ships. Very unfortunate. Anyway, let's move on to something that's not quite so broken at the moment. So here we have what is actually a bit older, and I don't think I've ever shown it before, but I figured I might as well show it. This is top heavy. This was, and that's why this was called top heavy. It was basically a test area for an assortment of different vehicle designs that never really came to fruition. I believe most of these were actually built around the time wheels were first added, and it was just sort of an experimentation to see what works best. But I figured, if I've never shown this, I should give it a quick show, just to show some of the different vehicles that were tossed around. And you can see I was trying to experiment around with vehicles that had a lot of weight far above them to see how far I could push it without them falling over, and, well, you know, eventually everything falls over, but you can see the slower vehicles were able to actually handle pretty well, but the second they do a quick turn and get going too quickly, things get slightly more dangerous. So that's, yeah, it was just a test area. I was pretty happy with it. You can see up there in the sky, I got a fair few vehicles that are mostly like that one there, where you got wheels on top and bottom, because I was also trying to experiment around with different control schemes. The idea that maybe I could drive one through a tunnel, like a very, very tight tunnel, and it would work as sort of, I don't know, a tram system, but a lot of these didn't quite work, and of course on their own they're extremely dangerous like that. So I just felt I'd share these. Let's move on. We're actually going to be out of space engineers now and onto other things I've been working on the modding side. Oh, by the way, this was sort of a bike, which if I remember, it's got a parking brake on, but if I turn that off, you can see it actually did sort of function, but it wasn't exactly the stablest thing in the world. As you can see, it sort of wants to fall over all the time, so it's basically like a bike with training wheels. Not exactly ideal, which is why I evolved it into, well, from there it sort of evolved into the trikes. Anyway, to Maya. So here we are on my desktop, actually in Maya to be more specific, and you can see here we have a nice little thruster that I've been working on, and the idea behind this was actually, started out with the idea of these sort of slanted things, and actually let's go ahead and rotate this thing. I'm going to export it on its side, but I need to rotate it to show it how I'm planning on using it more frequently. I want it to look like this, which I think is a pretty cool idea. You could have multiples of them on your ship then, set up, and I think that would look pretty dang awesome to have a set like that. Now, the design itself, this is what I started with in my head. This is the main thing I started with. It was pretty awesome, pretty cool. The thing I'm not sure about is this whole bump out here. I'm thinking I might make this edge right here just flat. That way we can not have to worry about the actual thing. Oh, I'll have to fix that too. But that way I don't have to actually worry about having, you know, the blocks in game lining up strangely with all of that. As for the design itself behind that though, I started out with sort of like a radiator-like things here. I still have to texture all this and UV it, so it's a bit of a pain in the arse. That's another reason why this hasn't been done yet. And you can see some of this is drifting off course. If I was actually go ahead and undo all this now and get it back to like that, you can see it a bit better. And you can see here I got some negative space on the bottom. I put some bars in there, that way we don't have to worry about it just seeming like you'd float through there. That way the collision mesh can still say a large rectangle just for this. And maybe a slanted one at the front here, or back, however you like it. The back here, I originally actually wanted to have cylinders of some sort of gas, but I figured that didn't exactly make sense because all these engines are all electrical powered, so I just decided to have something just to fill the space. Again, I still need to texture it all. I'll probably use tiling textures on the large amount of it, if not all of it. Pretty cool. I like the idea. It's being held up by two things mainly. One, all of the texture work that needs to be done, and two, getting it integrated with a different type of thruster, because I want to have a more rectangular flame coming out instead of just like two small flames or one larger one that is just maybe skewed. I want it to be a slightly more rectangular flame coming out of the back. And also, how do I get it set up to work with actually as a single block, because of course right now in game you have your engine, you go and place it on a large ship, it works. You go and place it on a small ship, it works, but of course it's loading a different model. I'm not exactly sure how to do that, so I need to figure that out first as well. So a few things holding me up on that. So that's that with this. This is another thing I've been working on. I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along. It just obviously needs a bit more work. And this here is a spherical cockpit. It's actually I don't know, I like the idea of it. I started building this just after they added modding support for glass, or actually just before it. But it's been taking a long time to get the design how I really wanted it. Of course, you know, you're having to deal with things like that. If you look at the top edge there, you can see the polygons quite clearly, which bugs me. I'm not sure if I want to up the amount of polys, but of course you can see it's already a huge poly scene. Part of the reason the poly count is way high right now is also just because of the characters there. So a lot of trouble with this one getting it the way I want. If we actually, I think I have one of these layers. Apparently not. The character, I thought I could hide him on a layer. I must have accidentally unlayered him. But yeah, it's I've been having a lot of trouble getting this. A lot of the problem I've run into now is actually design. So let me move it over here, that way you can see it without the character. You can see it's a really simple design. I still needed the model of the joystick to be a bit more than just a rectangle. I got the overall setup here that's pretty nice. If we actually go ahead and do a Control-Shift-D, you can see it mirrors over, and it's sort of this like, not exactly circle, but it's sort of, because it's got the flat sides here and here, so it sort of ends up with a different look. I'm very happy with the design, but it's just the inner workings I still need to figure out a bit more, because maybe that could work, but I'd like it to look a bit more, you know, real than just like a few blocks, you know. So that's giving me some trouble. I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm thinking maybe I'll have a heads-up display come down from the top, but at the same time, again, I'm also worried about poly count. So you can see the poly count on this is just closer to 3,000. So that's where I'm shooting for, is around 350. You know, 3,500 is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so that's that. This has been taking a while to get right, and of course this still needs to be UV textures and stuff. This I'll probably also use tiling textures, but from left to right to have patterns on these little metal bars here and stuff. That's my plan with that. And then of course the tiling texture on the glass, if that works right, to hopefully have that set up. And then of course after that I have to actually get it set up for in-game. And the size of this is actually a bit different. So this block here is actually the size of one small ship block in the game. Actually seems pretty huge, doesn't it? When you see it next to a character like this, it's like, wow, it's kind of big, but that's the size of it. And you can see here that a normal cockpit is 3 by 3 by 3. You know, it's a pretty simple setup. Well, this is 3 by, actually I can't snap to that, so I need to, oh dearie me, oh my. So this is 3 by, what is it, 4 I think, by 4. So it's a bit of an odd shape, and I'm not exactly sure how the mounting points will work with this. So this is also going to require a lot more tweaking, and of course when stuff takes a lot of work, I end up starting to get slightly less motivated when it's going to be technical work, because yeah, as you can see there, it is indeed 3 by 4 by 4. So yeah, some trouble with this. That's why this hasn't been done. Aaron in a recent video was actually, I'm not sure if the video came out, but Aaron was recently talking to me about so how's that bubble cockpit going? I'm like, oh, it's going all right. You know, wait a minute. Who told you about the bubble cockpit? He was talking about more of a modern day fighter bubble cockpit, but I thought he was talking about this thing, which I've been calling the sphere cockpit. Anyway, that's it, guys. A lot of technical hangups. That's what's been stopping me on some of this stuff. And also, you know, it's like, okay, I got technical hangups. Let's move on to something else. Start working on that. Run into another technical hangup. You know, or like the first thing I showed, it's just a very large project. You end up getting slightly demotivated after time, but I don't know, I've only been working on that for like 3 or 4 days off and on, and I did recently, I'm not gonna lie, take a day off, 2 days off to just hang out with my dog and also play Warframe a whole lot. Probably too much. But anyway, yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks a bunch. I'm very sorry that I've been lacking content on my channel. I'm very sorry. Survival, we were doing more scripted stuff, so as per usual with scripted stuff, that takes a lot of planning and stuff. So that ended up, you know, we couldn't just have an episode every other day like I was, because of course what we do then is we record for like 4 hours, then I cut it up and spread it out over a week, and then we try to record every Friday. We've had some issues with that, and then we've been recording every Friday, but that, when it's a super scripted episode, that's just one episode. So that's not too ideal. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks a bunch for watching. Again, I'm sorry for the lack of content. I'm trying to get back to actually getting stuff done. And hopefully we'll see these cockpits and engines and stuff done within the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping next 2 weeks, but no promises. If technical stuff makes my hair fall out. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.